to week 3, everyone. If I don't have your presentations from last week, please get those in as soon as possible. This week, we're focusing on the colonists and the colonized from Africa. We've got a few works that we're going to be reading. The first one is The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. The next one is Things Fall Apart by Chibe. And then we have a short essay that was written by Chibe, who discussed the Heart of Darkness and some of the racist depictions within the Heart of Darkness. Next, we'll be reading a few poems. I'm going to decline the cookies. One is called We're Stabbing Africa. One of them is called The Colonized Mind of Africa. And both of these poems are quite short. The main works that we're reading are Things Fall Apart and Heart of Darkness. Now, if you take a look at the readings themselves, as always, remember, I'm not assigning the entire novel. I'm only assigning a few pages of the article. And then of the novel. And I'm only assigning one chapter from Heart of Darkness. If you focus on the whole thing, that is a great way to let me know that you actually just read a summary. Truly, I just want you to have a taste of the art novels. I don't want you to read the whole thing. However, this particular article, I do want you to read the whole article. And the reason why is because you'll see why Achibe's work, Things Fall Apart, is actually a reaction to Heart of Darkness. Conrad's Heart of Darkness was not necessarily written for racist purposes. He was actually calling out King Leopold's treatment of the Congolese during the early 20th and late 19th centuries. And you'll be learning a little bit more about his treatments in this week's readings. I don't know if any of you have visited Belgium, but in Brussels there is actually a museum that just emphasizes just how horribly the Belgians treated those who were living within the Congo. It was actually quite disgusting. It is helpful if you read through the short section. There is a very interesting discussion about how the Congolese were treated, and this is an older book written by Doyle. I obviously am not expecting you to read the entire book, but just kind of glance through it. It definitely is just, the treatment was horrific. And so Heart of Darkness was a discussion about this treatment. It is a work of fiction, but Conrad did have some direct experiences with this treatment of the Congolese. His description, though, of those who lived in the Congo during this time period was racist, no doubt. Even though he possibly had well-intentioned thoughts when he wrote this, when you see the narrator, Marlowe, you can see that his focus is mainly on how this treatment affected those from Belgium, but he didn't really go into how this treatment actually affected those who actually lived in the Congo. And his descriptions were quite negative and quite frank, racist. Now, when you read Things Fall Apart, you can see that Achibe was depicting, and he isn't writing about the Congo, he's just writing about Africans in general. You can see how he has characters that are multifaceted as opposed to Conrad's descriptions. Conrad's descriptions show the Africans as being very flat, not nuanced, not even human. But in Achibe's work, he shows characters who are human, who have multifaceted personalities. They aren't all good. They aren't all bad. It's just a realistic interpretation. And that's what he was trying to discuss in his work, that these depictions by Europeans of those who lived in Africa are just one note, very racist. And so he was trying to react to that with his work, Things Fall Apart. And it's actually a really good novel, but again, I'm not making you read the whole thing. Then there are a couple of poems that we're going to be discussing, and these poems basically are focused on how the colonized within Africa had to change their society and change their culture because of the influence the Europeans had in their continent. So that should be an interesting discussion this week. So that's basically what the lesson discusses. I wanted to show you though that many of you may not be familiar with Heart of Darkness, but I can guarantee that many of you have actually heard revised stories that follow the same sort of plot as Heart of Darkness, but deal with different wars. And the one that a lot of you might be familiar with is Apocalypse Now, and that's basically another take on Heart of Darkness, and obviously instead it focuses on Vietnam. If you haven't seen that movie, I would recommend it. It's a great movie. But if you have, you'll notice a lot of similarities between the two works, and that is because it's a revised version of Heart of Darkness. And then the lesson discusses Things Fall Apart. And so that's basically it for the lesson itself. It's a fairly simple lesson. This week, you do have a discussion due, and you have two different threads that I want you to respond to. Now, with these threads, I do not want you to create mini essays. Instead, I want you to have a conversation with your classmates. Please make sure that you react to what your classmates have written, discuss what they have written, and that's mainly what I'm looking for with this particular assignment. Next, you have a journal due. These journals are private. You should not be able to see your other classmates' journal. If you do happen to be able to see your classmates' journals, please let me know immediately. That way I can fix the settings. But I believe the settings are correct, and so these are private journals just between you and me. They're reflections on the readings, trying to tie in stuff within your own personal life with these readings, or within things within media and so on. So this week you're going to be discussing a work or a movie that shows a one-sided focus, and it could be anything you want. I'm looking forward to what you write here. Please make it personal. Please make it informal. It has to be at least 250 words, but I'm not looking for, again, a mini essay. That's not what I want in here. I want reflections on the readings. I want personal reflections. I don't want to read essays, okay? And also, sometimes when I see those, it kind of seems to me like it could be AI or plagiarized. So don't do that. Keep it personal. I'm not looking for perfection. I just want to read your thoughts, okay? So that's it for this week. If you have any questions or concerns, please go ahead and chat with me in the one-on-one chat with Prof. Or if it's a general question, post to the Q&A forum. Note that I should have your presentations completed by Friday at the latest. And I hope you have a great week. Bye, everyone.